Can I just begin with that summit that you held with Secretary of State Blinken yesterday in Jordan? You made some very strong comments about Israel committing war crimes, a very serious accusation. What has driven you to make that?
Well, I mean, first of all, these are statements of fact. We're watching with tremendous shock what Israel is bringing about on Gazans. Over 9,000 people killed, over 4,000 children among them, women, elderly, over 150,000 houses demolished, hospitals diminished to lowest capacity that they cannot treat the wounded anymore. And these are, by international law, war crime. And I think all of us who want an end of violence and war in this part of the world, and we do want that for everybody, for Palestinians and for the Israelis, have to call things as they are. And I think what we're trying to do is to get everybody to understand that this madness cannot continue and that this war has to stop, because nobody is benefiting. On the contrary, everybody is losing. Palestinians are losing their lives. People around the region are losing faith in the possibility of viable peace. And Israel is losing its humanity in this war. So hence are the very direct and very factual statement that I made.
Now, Jordan has joined other Arab nations calling for a ceasefire. This is something that the US government and the UK government have not backed. They're calling for a pause. Why is a ceasefire so important? And what would you say to your American and British counterparts?
Well, I mean, the ceasefire is important because it will stop the killing of innocent. It will stop destroying Gaza. It will stop the illegal, inhumane displacement of over 1.4 million people. So I think the logic for ceasefire speaks for itself. As for our partners in the US and the UK, on this we disagree. Our argument is that if you want to help Israel, by all means help, but you're not helping Israel by not speaking against this mad war that it is launching. If you want to help Israel, help it make peace, because peace is the only path to guaranteeing the security of Palestinians and Israelis. So instead of sending support and arms to Israel, send delegations to have the Israelis sit on the table and negotiate a peace that will be the best self-defense for everybody in the region, for the Palestinians and for the Israelis. And the two-state solution, which we've been advocating for decades, is the only way to get that. So we're simply, again, saying what human logic says: stop the killing of the innocent. And we're saying a ceasefire is a must, because with every minute that goes without a ceasefire, I think your own pictures and images played on your TV show the human cost that's being paid.
Yes, you also talked about the importance of a two-state solution at that summit yesterday. Would Jordan be willing to play a role in brokering peace?
We've always been playing a role in brokering peace. For decades, His Majesty and His late Majesty before him have been working for peace. We have engaged everybody, we dedicated efforts, and we told everybody, Israelis and others, that the only way for all our peoples to enjoy security and have freedom and live like any other people anywhere on earth, we need to have peace. The problem is we're dealing with an Israeli government who has shown no interest in that. Actually, statements from the current Israeli government saying very openly that Palestinians should not aspire to have a state, that they thought that they could parachute over the Palestinian issue and deal with it as an issue of just getting a job here and there and create regional peace. And I think this war, sadly and tragically, has proven the illogic of this absurdity of this argument. And look, I mean, today, a sitting Israeli government, a member of the Israeli cabinet, calls publicly for nuking Gaza. What he's simply saying is that wipe Gaza out of from the face of this earth, kill 2.4 million people. It's not enough for him that Israel has already thrown what's equivalent to 1.5 times the firepower thrown in Hiroshima on Gaza. That's not enough for him. And this, again, this is reflective of the extremist, racist, radical elements that are in the driver's seat of Israeli decision-making, and that should explain why people have lost faith in peace and why we continue to be in conditions that is just conducive to more violence and more war.
Now, Jordan has been an ally of Israel for decades now, but you're also very consistent in your criticism of what's happening in Gaza at the moment. How are relations between Jordan and Israel? Are they reaching a new low?
Well, I mean, let me just say, we're not an ally of Israel. We're a country that made peace with Israel in 1994 within the context of moving towards comprehensive peace that will address the Palestinian issue as the core source of conflict in the region, and that would lead to the regional comprehensive peace that's the right of every people in the region, Palestinian, Israelis, and everybody else. We have used that peace agreement and we have used those channels we have with the Israeli government to continue to impress upon them the need to stop measures that are making it impossible to realize the two-state solution, measures that undermine the two-state solution, building more settlements, confiscating Palestinian land, suffocating the economy of the Palestinian people, actually occupying the economy of Palestine, because the West Bank is a captive market for Israel, if you look at the numbers. And consolidating occupation. So we've been engaging with them directly and working with all our friends and partners, including in the US, in the UK, in Europe, and our Arab countries in the region, to work towards for peace. Unfortunately, there's been a failure. The whole international community failed in solving what we all knew is the core conflict of the region, what we all knew would be a powder keg waiting to explode. And sadly and tragically, we see what's happening now, the conditions on which the October 7 attack happened. And again, we all reject the pain that was imposed on Israelis, as much as we ask the Israelis and the rest of the international community to also speak a pain and agony being brought on Palestinians. But this war will only create conditions that will be conducive to an environment, to be a wasteland, to be honest, where no hope will grow, no peace will grow. It will be a wasteland of death and destruction and despair. And what can that get all of us? So our message is direct and simple. Stop this war. Stop the killing of the innocent. This war is not self-defense. The best self-defense for Israel and everybody else is to stop this madness, sit around the table and work for peace. And if I may, like His Majesty King Abdullah said, we all should work for a reality where you have peace and two states between the River Jordan and the Mediterranean.
Do you think the international community, the US, the UK, European nations, the United Nations have done enough to mediate here? Or do they not have enough influence? If not, who does?
I'm not sure if I got your question right, but I think you asked if the UN and the UK have done enough. So I'm going to answer on that.
In the international community, do the US, the UK, does any party have enough influence to facilitate de-escalation here?
I think we all have roles to play. The UK is a country that has very strong relations in the region, including with Jordan and everybody else. So I think it can play a major role. The US has a leading role to play. The rest of the European countries, all of us can come together. Obviously, I mean, the international community as a whole, the Security Council, almost 21 days into this catastrophe, has not been able to come with one resolution urging a ceasefire, urging a humanitarian pause, urging a stop of the killing, and standing on the side of international law, which considers denying people food and medicine a war crime, which considers collective punishment a war crime. So not much has done. And let me be very honest and straight for you. It is no longer acceptable to hide the failure of the international community to do what it needs to do to stop the war by calling for humanitarian supplies. You know what? We on the Arab world, we can provide all the humanitarian supplies that Gaza wants. We in Jordan are willing to share everything we have to provide the humanitarian supplies that they need. What the world needs to do is take a political stand, a moral stand, consistent with international law, consistent with human value, consistent with the belief that every life matters, no matter whether it's Palestinian or Israeli or any other nationality, and act immediately and effectively to push for an immediate end of a war that will only make things worse for generations to come. I've been saying this war, the amount of hatred that it's producing is beyond imagination. This hatred, this anger, this dehumanization will define generations to come. That is not in Israel's interest. That's not in anybody's interest. And this is our message. The damage this war is causing, beyond the epic catastrophe it's causing in terms of destroying Palestinian lives, is dangerous for years to come.
Now, Mr Safadi, I know it's hard to imagine right now, but once this war is over, would Jordan be willing to play some sort of governance role in Gaza?
Look, I think we made it clear yesterday, we will not accept, not just Jordan, all of us in the Arab world, we will not accept a Gaza alone approach. First of all, we don't know what Gaza is going to look like after Israel done destroying it. Again, Israel has not told anybody what victory means. When will it have enough? How many Palestinian lives it has to kill for this war to end? But after that, we don't know what Gaza is going to look like. But even beyond, Gaza alone is unacceptable. What needs to be done is a comprehensive peace plan that addresses both the situation in Gaza, the West Bank, and it should be based on and geared towards a comprehensive solution that will result in the establishment of a viable sovereign Palestinian state on Palestinian land, June 4, 1967, lines with occupied Jerusalem as capital, living side by side Israel in peace and harmony. Just localizing Gaza and trying to deal with it from a security perspective will not work. We will have no part to do with it. We have told everybody that the answer has to be a big move by us who want peace to solve this once and for all and make sure nobody in the region, no Palestinian, no Israeli, will have to live through the horrors that this latest round of vicious violence and war have done.
Mr Safadi, we hear you loud and clear, and we really appreciate your time this evening. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Ayman Safadi, Jordan's Foreign Minister there.